You're enjoying The Real Estate Show, Home Sweet Home with Russ, McClellan, and friends. Here's more with Russ.
Hey, welcome back. This is Russ McClellan. One more time with Michael Maher at Primelending. Thanks for calling in, Michael. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Excited to be here and, as usual, kind of give people the lowdown on what's going on in the mortgage world.
Yeah, as you know, we tape this show and these shows will air in September, but I'm going to give you kudos because although by the time you're listening to this, it actually happened last month, but you and Primelending are working with wounded warriors and teaching them today, as a matter of fact, how to wake surf. And you were telling me off air that you had a chance to meet a lot of guys and maybe gals that had some serious injuries in combat in Iraq and so on. And I just wanted to commend you because, without those veterans, it's a different game that we don't have those freedoms. It's not free. Those guys are amazing heroes. So kudos to all of you guys.
No, I appreciate that. And just on that note, real quick, when it comes to these guys, the injuries, even if you can't see them, I spoke to one guy who said that this saved his life. Something as simple as wake surfing was enough for him to go, you know what, I found purpose again, and this is what I want to be involved in. As silly as that might sound to a lot of people, just getting involved in any small way can make a big difference between these guys being around or not. So no, I appreciate that, and I'm excited for teaching them today, so it'll be fun.
Yeah, exactly. When you get a chance, make sure you let them know, because I'm working with I made a phone call and beginning to work with the Veterans Association and Veterans Affairs on getting real estate licenses, because we have that real estate school that's free. And those guys and gals that were intense and disciplined and whether they're in combat or not are a great fit for real estate. They're passionate, they're loyal, dedicated, disciplined. All of those things, when you add purpose through real estate, people just don't think about it. But real estate's something that if you're just an honorable human, you're honest, your work ethic is there, the rest we can teach. And
Exactly.
And there's never been a better time to get into real estate, in my opinion, than during a shift. And that's where we are. So, and we can talk more about that. So with that being said, we're definitely seeing some things change, right? In your world,
Yep.
The refinances are probably slowing down, if not drying up, as the interest rates climb. There's no incentive. So that's probably happening, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Well, how do we talk for a while about, I'd like to talk about how do you structure deals where now you have flexibility from sellers, which was kind of a unicorn for about 4 or 5 years. Sellers were not really in the mood to even have inspections, let alone give concessions on price or otherwise. But sometimes in a market that's shifting, the buyers can become very creative with their real estate brokers and structuring deals to enhance that opportunity. And so I was going to just maybe role play a little bit and or just talk about a case that we have going around, get your take on it. And what the situation is, the buyer has $100,000. They want to buy an $800,000 house. The seller's willing to pay closing costs. The seller's willing to basically come up with about $50,000 to $75,000 in concessions. There's some about $25,000, $30,000 worth of work that needs to be done on this house to get it up to code. What's the best way to preserve or use that $100,000, would you think, if the goal of the buyer is to reduce the payment and have the cash to fix this house up and not have to worry about something not being up to code, like electrical, for example? What are some of the ways we could do that?
Yeah, no, I think this is important for people to kind of understand the strategy behind it. So first and foremost, if someone's goal is to have a lower payment, it's always going to be better to buy the interest rate down rather than have a reduction in price. Now, it'll make sense to do that. There's some break-even points when it comes to buying down points. And what that means is, at some point, if you were to pay a lot of money to get a lower interest rate, but then you were going to turn around and sell the home in a couple of years, it may not make financially enough sense to buy the interest rate down, and a lower price might be better. But if this is a primary purchase where you're going to live there for the foreseeable future, then buying points is 100% the way to get the lower payment. Now, with that being said, depending on how much someone is putting down as a down payment will determine what the seller is legally allowed to provide back to the buyer as far as credits. So if you're putting less than 10% down, the seller can only give 3% back. If you're putting more than 10%, then the seller can give 6% back. So on this particular example, at an $800,000 purchase price with $100,000 down, that's about 12% down. So the seller could give back a full credit of 6% of that purchase price, which is $48,000, towards the buyer to help towards closing costs or buying the rate down. But you said that total they're willing to work between $50,000 to $75,000.
Yeah, and some of that, like 25, 30, needs to go to enhancing things in the house, like electrical, et cetera, that need to be up to code, that were driven by an inspection report.
No, exactly. So what do we do now that we're capped on, let's just assume the seller's going to give the full 6% and you're going to use it all. Well, that still leaves about, say, $30,000 on the table. Well, the seller can't just write a check to the buyer and the buyer can't get cash and do that. However, they kind of can in a way. So if you have some stuff that's going on with the property and you want to get that done, fixed, whether it's a new roof, some paint, putty, whatever it is, the seller can actually do a seller funded holdback. And what that means is the seller puts money in an account that escrow holds for specific work items that the buyer needs to go get a licensed and bonded contractor to get these bids done. And then that will be paid for out of that account on the seller's dime. So that is a creative way that we've been utilizing, then basically the buyer, quote unquote, getting cash back to credit on top of what the seller's giving them on closing costs.
Yeah, and did you say they needed to be, the contractors have to have the bids in during escrow before closing, and did those contractors have to be licensed and bonded?
Yep, correct. So you have to have everything picked out. They won't, at the end of it, really has to make sure all the ducks are in a row when it comes to, it's not really an open check. So you're better off just getting a bunch of items that you want done to the home and having those on an itemized list so that there's money set aside for those particular items that you want completed.
Now, at what point would we, because we talk about the enhancement loan, rehab loans a lot too, where basically you would buy the house at X price, then you would already have these same general contractors give you estimates on what they're going to do. The appraiser would then appraise it based on these work requirements already being done. And then you do a two-step process where it's actually not a holdback, it's actually coming from the lender in the enhancement portion of the post-closing environment. So if you, in this example, well, I guess what I'm asking is, when does that become better to do holdbacks or better to do enhancement loans?
Enhancement is going to be when the buyer funds it, and a holdback is when the option is for the seller to do that. You can do a buyer funded holdback, and usually if the buyer is going to set some money aside, that can be for smaller ticket items that maybe the appraiser called out, like there's some peeling paint, things like that, that they maybe can't get on the schedule right away, but you still want to close the loan quickly. But more often than not, you're going to do an enhancement or a renovation loan when the buyer is going to foot the bill, and holdbacks are typically when the seller is going to foot the bill. Not always, but I would say that's what when I would encourage a buyer to use that program, is if the seller is going to foot the bill for them.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense, because if you just say, hey, we're at 800 and I want 100 back, I'll just jump it to 900. Well, boom, then we have an appraisal problem, because we're not in that holdback environment. The appraiser is not giving any consideration to the improvements. It's going to be an as-is appraisal. So by jacking the price $100,000 just to get it back, they probably will run into that problem where it won't appraise. Where if you do an enhancement loan, they appraise it as is. There's essentially like two appraisals, right? They appraise it as is, and then they appraise it with the new swimming pool or with the new paint or the new roof. And therefore, you're able to, as a borrower, borrow the money to fix it up and include that in your mortgage, versus a holdback where it's just, you're just buying it and then they're going to take some of their equity and fix up the house to get it financeable or whatever,
Yep.
up to code. Yeah, it's interesting because they're kind of related. They're like kissing cousins, but but it's how you structure things. This is the challenge. And, we have cases all the time where buyers get bad advice or, not intentionally, but they say things, and we all do, from our own experiences. And the reality is, if you do something for 30 years, you probably have a little more experience than 3 months. Doesn't mean you're smarter. But the thing about like what we call R&D in our company, which is rip off and duplicate, it also includes intellectual properties, meaning lean into each other. When you have almost 90 real estate brokers in a firm in a town the size of Wenatchee in north central Washington, that's like 20% of the entire MLS, right? So we have people that have people that have people, right? So that's the fun thing about working with Keller Williams agents. We all have these relationships and this creativity. So if you're working with someone out there that's a lender that doesn't know what a renovation loan is, doesn't know an enhancement loan, doesn't know how to do holdbacks, then you probably need to interview some different lenders like Michael Maher and Primelending. And the same thing goes for the brokerage. And that is, if the broker doesn't know how to write contracts that are creative in a shift, you need to find somebody that does. And then most importantly, we have to work together. One of the things I like to do is say we quarterback transactions on behalf of our clients. And that means we leverage into other relationships like you. Hey man, we're almost out of time. So how do people get a hold of you, Michael? I appreciate it.
Yeah. No, the best way is my cell, 425-760-8824. You can call or text that number anytime, and I'll pick up and be available to answer any questions anyone has.
All right. Well, thanks again for working with those awesome vets. Hey, everybody, get outside, play with your kids. That work-life balance is important. Just like we always say, God, family, business at Keller Williams. Don't stress out about hypotheticals. They may not even happen. Just live a real life. Enjoy each other, give each other hugs, high fives. Let's have some fun. Thanks for tuning in. One more time to Home Sweet Home with Russ, McClellan, and friends.
It's a bright new day, just came my way.